The Rams get a big road win against the Jets, and they're closing in on the division. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramley, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do us a huge favor. Subscribe to the fastest growing Rams YouTube channel, just past 15K. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've been covering LA sports for over a decade, 24/7 sports, SI, Dodgers Nation, some NFL radio for Westwood One. And of course, I'm joined by the people's champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, the pre-half and post-game show host for your Los Angeles Rams. In his 9th season covering your Los Angeles Rams, follow him on X at Travis Rogers. And on today's episode, the Rams keep winning, and they're inching closer and closer to being division champs. That's coming up next. But first, today's episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $250 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Okay, of course, this is a live on the road episode. Travis, we're in the Long Beach airport. I've got my airport beer popping. You got your at-home Christmas wine popping. So, yeah, happy holidays, Merry Christmas to you. But the Rams keep winning, and this is a Rams team that started 1-4. They now have just absolutely exploded, and they're a team that's going to really inch close to the postseason every single game. And you beat this Jets team 19-9 on the road, and that's the second time where you didn't play your best football, but you proved that the Rams are winners. They find a way to win games.
Yeah, I think that's the best point, Doug. I think you're exactly right. I don't know if there's a ton to pull out of that Jets game, like specifically, schematically, or anything like that, maybe other than Tyler Higbee, which maybe we'll talk about in a little bit. Him coming back, I think, is a big deal. But you're exactly right. They found a way to win. You know, the Jets aren't good. Obviously, they're 4-11. That's not a good football team, but they have a lot of good players. They've got a lot of good pieces on that team. And you know, it was another first half where the Rams really couldn't find any traction at all. It was another first half where they didn't find, any sort of rhythm. Matthew Stafford did not look. You know, his interception-less streak comes to an end in that 6th game. That was a career best for him. But who cares? They won the game. You know, by the end of the night, they had won the game. They had gone into a cold environment, something that they've struggled with. Flew across the country and found a way to win the game. And that's all that really matters. And, you know, here they are 9-6 in first place by a game. They got a game in hand right now, which is a nice thing to have with a couple of weeks to go. And, you know, go ahead and put your hand in the air if you thought the Rams would be in first place after week 15 or 16, I guess it is. And put your hand down because you're lying, because nobody thought this was going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at a team that has now gone 8-2 since the bye week. You look at a team that continues to prove that when you have an elite head coach, you have an elite quarterback when he's right, that you can still win football games. But as you point out, you didn't have the best version of Matthew Stafford. Stafford goes 14 of 19 for 110 yards, had the interception on the overthrow to Demarcus Robinson. And yeah, I mean, we'll get to that in the takeaways as far as, look, Puka Nacua accounts for 56 of your 110 yards, kind of getting a lion's share there. But I think when you look at this team where they're at right now, no one wants to play this team. They're one of the most dangerous teams in the NFL. I don't know if you saw on Ross St. Brown's podcast where they asked him, who do you want to play? He said the Los Angeles Rams. And I think that is a widely held belief around this league. But kind of diving into this one, it was a funny game because you heard about the Jets and their ineptitude and how dysfunctional the Jets are. You got their owner using Madden rankings to draft players. And look, the Rams, they pinned the Jets back early on the 1-yard line, and then the Jets go on a 14-play, 99-yard touchdown drive. You had the 11-yard touchdown from Aaron Rodgers to Devontae Adams, and then Matthew Stafford, he throws that bad interception that you just alluded to on the second drive. He overthrows Demarcus Robinson, and then the Rams come back on the ensuing drive, and then this is, I think, really one of the turning points early. You stuff the Jets on that 4th and 1.
Huge.
You take over from the 33-yard line. 3 plays later, Kyren Williams, he's in the end zone with a big touchdown. So that was massive. I think one of my big takeaways that this team can lean on Kyren Williams anytime they need to, and he'll come up big. 122 rushing yards, had the touchdown. Now he is closer to his first 1,200-yard season. So Matthew Stafford didn't have his best game, but Kyren Williams stepped up, and that was really a big turning point earlier in this game.
Yeah, it was. And Kyren Williams was a battering ram in that game. There weren't a bunch of big runs, but there were a bunch of hard runs. And I give Sean McVay all the credit in the world for continuing to go to the run game, for continuing to put the ball in Kyren Williams' hands, because I like what you said, D-Mac. The game got off to a weird start where you have a 99-yard drive from the Jets. And like we talked about, the Jets are not a good team, but that was a nice drive. Then you immediately turn around and throw an interception. You do get, there was a penalty, I think it was on Hunter Long, that brought back a nice run from, I believe it was Blake Corum, who had a 33-yard run that came back along the way. Yeah. And it just felt like one of those games that, like, hey, what's going on around here? You miss a PAT off the upright, like a bunch of weird stuff starts to happen, and they go in the locker room and they come out and they take care of business. And I think that's what this was all about. Then Matthew Stafford made the throws that he needed to play. They got a big turnover that they needed to have. And I thought the play of the game, and, you know, this kind of goes back to the Jets just not being a good squad at all. That decision to go for it on 4th and 4 from the 13-yard line was just idiotic, just wildly idiotic. The Rams get the ball back. They turn around, they drive down, they score points, and that was the end of the game. The Jets are 4-11 for the reason, but the Rams took advantage of the opportunities that they were giving, and now all of a sudden they got a little bit of wiggle room going into the final 2 weeks of the season.
No doubt about it. I think that's one of the big takeaways from this game as far as the Rams getting big stops in big spots. And that Bemba don't break style of defense that Chris Sheila was playing was working all day long. You mentioned the 4th down stop. The Jets go 2 for 5 on 4th downs. They're also 5 for 13 on 3rd down. So you stopped them when you needed to. And you mentioned too, I mean, the second half, they come alive, but I think before the second half, too, they go 67 yards, and the Jets add 3 points. You keep them out of the end zone on a big play there to end the half. And the second half starts, opening drive of the third quarter. Jets had the ball 14 plays, gained 58 yards, took 9 minutes off the clock, over 9 minutes, almost 10 minutes. But Ahkello Witherspoon, he breaks up that 4th down past the end zone. I think that was a monster play, and give Ahkello a lot of credit. He's been playing a lot better the last 2 games.
Yeah, he was. That was the big play. You know, that was kind of where, all right, you got an opportunity now. The Jets just kind of did that thing that bad teams do. They give you a chance to come back on them, and the Rams did. And, you know, the more I watch this league, and I'm going on 45 plus years of paying attention to this league, is if your coach is smart, you got a chance. If your quarterback is good, you got a chance. If both of those things are true, you've got a very good chance. And the Rams have both of those things. They're healthy at the right time of the year. And, you know, I'm not going to pretend that I saw this coming. I didn't. When they were 1-4, I thought that they were cooked and that this wasn't going to be a thing that they were going to be able to pull out of their hat. And yet here we are heading into that Arizona game with a chance, at least if things break the right way, to clinch that division.
Yeah, no, for sure. This is tweet deleting season for a lot of people that did not think this Rams team was going to do it. But I mean, seriously, there was not a lot of people out there. We're pretty optimistic at times, and we kind of keep it 100 at times too. But I mean, to get to this point, you got to give him a ton of credit. And I think you look at that Rams team, though. I mean, you go almost 18 minutes without touching the ball because of those 2 long drives for the Jets before
it was nearly an hour of actual time. It was 53 minutes before Matthew Stafford had the ball in his hands. Nearly an hour of actual clock time between offensive snaps for the Rams.
And when they did get the ball back, the Rams are going to 13 plays, 66-yard drive. Ends up with a field goal from 38 yards to tie the game at 9. By the way, I was up north watching it with my mom, and when Josh Carty makes that extra point, the very first thing she said was, Trav's going to be pissed. Trav's going to be livid. It's literally the first thing that came out of her mouth. So it's pretty well known that you got your eyes on these kickers. You hold them to such a high standard.
Kickers, man. Look, I don't need you to be Aubrey or that Aubrey guy from Cowboys who can make 58-yarders like their chip shots, but can we make our PATs? Can we make kicks that are under 50 yards? Is that too much to ask? And apparently it is. I don't know. Absolutely.
Then coming up next, guys, we're giving out game balls. Continue to break this one down. Then later, we're going to tell you what the Rams exactly need to do to wrap up this division. It's pretty simple, but we could be celebrating a division title by the end of this week. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
Today's episode is sponsored by PrizePicks. If you love watching the game, you're going to love PrizePicks, the easy and most exciting way to play daily fantasy. Whether it's football, basketball, or any of your favorite sports, PrizePicks makes your holidays bigger and brighter. And right now, you can win up to 1,000 times your money on PrizePicks. Plus, this holiday season, they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Pickmas, and offering 2 free picks in December. And when your picks hit, PrizePicks makes it easy to cash out. You can get your money in as fast as 15 minutes. So obviously, I always love to play the Rams. So go check it out this week against Arizona. Arizona's getting ready to roll over, so maybe take some less thans on Arizona. And of course, you can go look at the Lakers. You can go look at anything that you like. So download the PrizePicks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly when you play just $5. PrizePicks, run your game.
And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to send a shout out to those everyday listeners out there watching, listening every single episode of Locked On Rams. And if you want to get Travis and I a present for Christmas, just join the Everyday Listeners Club. You just have to watch or listen to watch and listen, do both, Monday through Friday, sometimes on the weekends, and you won't miss a thing about your Los Angeles Rams. All right, Travis, so picking it up with Josh McCarty, he does go on to make that 38-yard kick that ties the game at 9. You did have a false start by Bo Limmer on the 3rd and 8 inside the red zone that really hurt that drive, but the defense comes up in the biggest way on the next drive. Cam Curl, he gets to Aaron Rodgers. He's caused that strip sack on that blitz. Jared Verse, he recovers the ball, sets that offense up on the Jet side of the field. And just a couple plays later, it's tied at 9 with just sort of 10 minutes to play. And then Matthew Stafford hits Higbee for a touchdown on his first catch of the game, first touchdown, first catch of the season. And just what a special moment there for a guy that's worked his way back through a really rough knee injury. The Rams all-time franchise leader in receptions, touchdowns, receiving yards. I mean, a great moment there with Tyler Higbee.
Yeah, Doug, I thought that was such a cool moment. And look, I've been following this team for a long time. Like you mentioned at the top of every show, I've been covering this team for 9 years. And that was as big of an outpouring of emotion when somebody scored a touchdown as I've seen with this group. That clearly Tyler Higbee means a lot to these guys. And then I'm sure a lot of people saw it. The Rams fans saw the post-game celebration in the locker room when they gave Tyler Higbee the game ball towards the end, and what it meant to him, what it meant to his teammates. And, I'll bring it all back to Sean McVay with this, but Sean McVay keeps guys together. Sean McVay can keep guys on the same page. Whenever this team was 1-4, and they were 1-4 with a win with the Raiders coming up, and they were 2-4 after that Raider win. You're like, this team's not good. They barely beat the Raiders, and yet here we are, and that's a testament to McVay. And you can see, you get Higbee back, he looks a little bit better. You get the offensive line, that starts to settle down. You've had the same 5 guys, for the last few weeks in a row. That makes a big difference. Matthew Stafford is not what he was a year or two ago. He's probably not that guy. He's still good enough. Kyren Williams is certainly one of those guys. Puka Nacua has taken his game, I think, to the next level and kind of compensated for what Cooper Kupp has maybe backslid a little bit. But this is a team that's well coached, super competitive. They never give up. And I think Tyler Higbee is a perfect representation of all of those things. And it was just, it was great to see. And, oh, by the way, just Doug, purely selfishly speaking, the Rams are a better team with him. They got no production from their tight ends all season long, really. Colby Parkinson just didn't work out, unfortunately, but Tyler Higbee knows exactly what you need to do in that offense, and it was a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that 100%. Like, it's not like you're just coming back and like, oh, it's a feel-good story because he's been on the Rams for a long time. No, they need more production from their tight ends, and it's fitting that he shows what he can do on his very first opportunity back. I mean, Colby Parkinson earlier in the game was getting the snaps, but it was only a matter of time that rust was going to shake off for Higbee. It was a great moment. And then for the 3rd time in the game, the Rams stopped the Jets on 4th down on the Jets' very next possession. Incomplete pass to Tyler Conklin over the middle on a 4th and 4. A great job by Darius Williams to break it up. And then Cardi hits another big kick. He comes back and hits a 45-yard field goal with 5 minutes left and makes it a 2-score game. And then the all-important, it was over when moment Jets down 10, 19-9. On the next drive, they missed that 49-yard field goal, about 2 minutes left in the game. And then they actually got a stop for the Rams, and they muff the punt. The Rams get and they kill out the clock. So very dysfunctional Jets team, and the Rams get the win in a big way.
You know, this is one of those old adages in the NFL that good teams find a way and bad teams find a way. Bad teams find a way to lose the game, and you just mentioned it, Doug. They missed a field goal that, by the way, the second it left Carlson's foot, it was no good. Then they muffed that punt. The Rams end the game right there. Rams didn't play all that well. Look, let's be perfectly honest about this. Like you said a second ago, we like to be as honest as we can with the everydayers, with the Rams fans. The Rams have really been good twice all year. They were good against Minnesota. They were really good against Buffalo. They're 9-6. To play really good football twice and be 9-6, I think is both incredibly exciting and interesting, because if they can find a way to kind of get to that level a little bit more often as you head into the playoffs, they are a dangerous team, because a lot of those wins have been just find a way. I think the Jets is one of those examples, just find a way to win that game. And that's what they were able to do. And, you know, if they play their best, think about, look at the league. Who are two of the 5 or 6 best teams in the league? Buffalo and Minnesota. Rams beat them both. Now, they also got killed by Philadelphia. They lost to Detroit. They're also in that group as well. So they've shown that if they play their best football, they can compete with those teams. They showed if they don't play their best football, they're going to get run over by those teams. But they're playing well at the right time. And I think perhaps most importantly, Doug, they're healthy at the right time.
And that's the most important thing, right? A lot of teams, they're dealing with the injury issues now when the Rams dealt with them at the beginning of the season. But this team is inspiring. And I'll tell you, Travis, that at one point early in the season, the Rams, they had a couple percentage chances to make the playoffs. Well, tonight I'm trying to defend a fantasy football championship. And I'm down to a 1% chance of winning in this league. 1% chance. But Kendre Miller, the running back for the Saints, if he gets 5 touchdowns tonight, I will come all the way back and win. By the way, the record by a running back, Alvin Kamara, Gale Sayers, and Dub Jones are all tied for the most touchdowns by a running back in a game with 6. So just want to say the Rams giving me hope, giving me inspiration, man. So
Christmas miracle. All you need is a Christmas miracle. Why not?
Absolutely. So coming up next, though, it's going to be a short segment because it's not going to take that long to tell you what the Rams need to do to clinch the division. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with not one, but rather $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Think about that. Bet $5, you can win $250 in bonus bets. Who says no to that? Nobody. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W. I love betting on which players are going to score a touchdown and how many points each team is going to score. It is incredibly exciting. Look, football's great. Put a little something on top of it with a little FanDuel action. Even better, right? Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets.
And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So the Rams, they went into the matchup with the Jets with a 72% chance of making the playoffs, and they got everything that they had hoped to get on Sunday. I mean, that's what you needed if you're the Rams. You basically got the Red Ryder BB gun if you are the Rams. You got
shoot your eye out.
Exactly. Shout out to A Christmas Story, right? And the Rams got a win. They got a Seahawks loss. They got a Cardinals loss, and it's pretty simple what the Rams need to do at this point. You have a 1-game lead, as you point out, in the division, and you can clinch the NFC West and punch your ticket to the playoffs as early as week 17. Only 2 things need to happen. Beat the Cardinals or the Seahawks lose to the Bears on Thursday night.
Yeah, obviously I think the Cardinals are probably pretty ready to roll over. They're probably ready to go on vacation. That losing to Carolina to have your season come to an end, that is a rough way to do it. So I'd imagine whatever wind was in their sails is long gone. This was a classic Cardinals season where got off to a good start, looked pretty good, and then just fizzled from that point. So I think the Rams will take care of business against Arizona. I'm going to do the crossover with Alex Clancy coming up later this week, so make sure you check this out. But Chicago stinks, right? That's one of those games for the Rams that you look at. I just don't know how they lost to that football team. I know they were suffering a lot of injuries along the way, but I don't think Seattle is going to go. It is in Chicago, so maybe it'll be cold. Maybe there'll be some weather factors there, but Seattle is, I think, they're a decent team at worst. They might be a good team, so I think they're going to go in there and take care of business. And I think the Rams are going to have to show up in Week 18 against Seattle to go to the playoffs. I would be really surprised if the Seahawks did us a favor and lost to the Bears.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, the Seahawks, they still have a puncher's chance. They want to set themselves up where you can have some hope and control the matchup where you can find a way to get into the playoffs. But, yeah. I mean, just kind of put things in perspective. I mean, it's kind of been the theme of this episode, the whole 1-4 to now you've gone on this great run. We could be talking about resting starters in Week 18 for the Rams. I mean, that's why it's the NFL, man. I remember you told me this right when we started this podcast. I mean, any given Sunday.
Week-to-week league.
It's a week-to-week league. Yeah.
Every single guy I have ever worked with in this business that has played in the NFL, and I have worked closely with probably close to a dozen of them, they all say the same thing, and they're all right, and I'm wrong every time. Every time I'm like, yeah, but you got this, and they're stop. You got one game to play. And they think differently, they operate differently, and they just go about their business differently. It is a week-to-week league. Anybody can beat anybody at any time. And the Rams have shown that. They were 1-4, and they were a bad football team, and they control their own destiny with 2 weeks to go. That's incredibly impressive.
It's impressive, and all I got to say is let the national media continue to hype up Detroit and Minnesota and
How about
the Eagles.
this? The Rams could host a playoff game against the Detroit Lions in Wild Card Weekend. That's how crazy this could be, that the Rams could be hosting the Lions at SoFi Stadium. If Minnesota wins out, Detroit's that 5. If the Rams go to the 4, if the Rams get the 3, maybe they get the Packers at home again. There's a lot of stuff going on, but it's all going to be great.
Incredible stuff. And you know how much I love SoFi. I do pretty much 9% of the episodes live in the middle of the 50-yard line. So, yeah, 100%. But great win for the Rams. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMac_LA. And you can follow the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, at Travis Rogers. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.